Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jenny Bellinger, Virginia Muskis, and Michelle Nedelec.
Welcome back to another episode of Bad Girls on Business. Our multiple co-hosts are here for some badassery today, although one of our co-hosts is not available. Virginia Muskis, our referral diva, is on a plane, and so she could not join us today. But Jenny Bellinger, your direct sales dom, helping you whip your business into shape, is here, along with
Michelle Nedelec, your mistress in business, helping you get it up and keep it up. And of course, we're talking about revenue and profit.
Of course. And so we are recording this fun badassery episode because we have so much fun chatting, and we love that when it's
okay. But first of all, I want to know, you mentioned that Virginia's on an airplane.
Yeah.
And every time you say that, I'm thinking, is she joining the Mile High Club?
And this is why we record badassery, because we know we can take it kinky and no one's going to stop us, right?
Oh, yeah.
We are not going to. I cannot foresee a situation, although you're now going to take this as a challenge, I'm sure. A situation where one of us would safe word on the other at this point. We will laugh our asses off and keep rolling with it.
When Jenny's laughing so hard she can't breathe, she can't get meatloaf out.
Yeah, well, that's akin to long distance choking, right? I singed one. I finally got one on Michelle. I did it. For those of you who are like, what the hell is she talking about? We're talking about the fact we're referring back to the conversation we had with Michael Fritzius on a previous episode where Michelle just zings the hell out of me all the time. She's so much faster, and I finally got one on her. Yes. Okay, good. Oh, that's like, you're like 500 to 1 now.
Yay, Jenny's on the board.
I'm on the board. If we were going to include Virginia, you're at the 500. She's easily at 250, 200, although she bites her tongue a lot more. She makes a lot of those things when we're not recording. And I'm like, damn it. Y'all are so much faster. So our badassery episode that we chose to do today, based on Michelle's wonderful idea, is we want to go through our 5 questions, the rapid fire questions that we have, and kind of talk about what each one of us likes, how we do it, how we prefer to do it, and why we like to do it. And we would love to know, of course, well, I'll let Michelle do that part at the end. So Michelle, do you want to ask me first, or are we just going to talk about the options in general together? How do you want to do this?
I think we need to come up with a topic for today's conversation so that we can leave another topic for another day. So what I was thinking was I'll go through a couple of topics that we could talk about. And if that spurs any ideas in our listeners' minds and they come up with something that they want to hear a show about, then absolutely write those down, send us an email, and let us know what kind of conversations you would like to be a voyeur in.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. So,
because my first thought was, when it comes to podcasting, we are all very polyamorous.
Yes, we are.
Like that alone could be a whole conversation. And we could also talk about teams, whether or not we prefer married or mistress, and what that means to us in our businesses. When it comes to leadership, some of us are lady doms, some of us are power subs. And what does that mean? How does that unfold in the business or under the sheets, as it were? And when it comes to networking, some of us prefer to be exhibitionists, some voyeurs. What does that mean? How do we do it? And when it comes to our marketing, some of us are doing it by domination and others prefer the seductive way. So if that tickles your thoughts in any way, be sure to send us an email and let us know, because we'd like to hear that.
Yes, absolutely. We want to know what you want to hear us talk about.
We want to know what you want.
We want to know what you want, which is, which takes us in the direction of that whole domination, seduction, either gentle lady dom or power sub direction, right? Because I'm in the world of BDSM. I'm part of that community. So I hear the what do you want? And that's 100% how those kinds of conversations start in the BDSM world, right? So let's go to that dom sub question. That's kind of where I'm leaning based on what you said. Is that cool?
Awesome. Awesome.
Let's do it.
I'm power subbing for you, baby.
Yes, I love it.
It's where you want me to go.
Yes, exactly. So in any good situation, whether it's in business, whether it's in the Dom sub, whether it's in how you're leading, right? Because that's the question for that one is, how do you lead? Are you a gentleman or lady Dom or a power sub, right? It starts with asking the question, what do you want?
So for those of us who aren't in that community, let's back up and get into the semantics of what is a lady or a gentleman Dom? How do they behave? How does that play out?
Yeah.
Some of us have probably seen some movies on it, so we probably have some background.
Right.
And the power sub, what are their roles? What do they do? All that kind of fun jazz.
Great question. So we're
going
diving deep into the world of BDSM, guys.
Penetrate it now.
Yeah, we are. And this is what makes these kinds of conversations fun, right? Because we could totally talk about all these things without bringing in BDSM, but it just makes it so much more fun to have that analogy, right? So in the world of BDSM, gentleman Dom, lady Dom, first of all, oftentimes sadomasochism is not part of it. Or if it is, it's on the, which is always the case, of the sub if they are masochists and want the pain part of it. But domination and submission is a power exchange, has nothing to do with pain. And a lot of people associate it with it because there are many people in the world who do both, right? They do the power exchange and they do the sadomasochism piece. Pain is part of their pleasure. I'm not one of them. So there's that. And that's a conversation I've had on my podcast. I literally said, I'm a lady Dom. What does this mean? How does this show up in my coaching, in my podcasting kind of thing? And it's really, the power exchange starts with a conversation, because you're not going to do the power exchange just because someone's a dominant doesn't mean a submissive automatically hands over their power, right?
And anybody that's ever been in any networking events knows how this whole thing parlays, because if somebody is dominant and somebody doesn't want to play sub, it's like you're chasing them around the room and they're like, get the hell away from me.
Yes.
I don't want any part of this. That's
exactly. So it really starts with that conversation. And it really does start with, what do you want? What are you looking for? And the dominant is asking that of the submissive initially, because they're wanting to find out, do I feel like I, as a dominant, could provide that experience? Am I the best person to provide that experience? Fully clarifying and understanding what that would look like, feel like, be like for the other person, which, in the world of business, we should be doing that with our clients anyway, right? Asking, what do you want? What are you looking for? How could I better serve you in this place? Because if you don't know those things about your clients, you can't provide them the level of service that they at minimum are expecting. And then if you don't know what they want, how can you overshoot that? How can you over deliver if you don't know what they want?
Well, I think a lot of people do that in the sales presentation, especially well-skilled salespeople. But when it comes to leadership, a lot of entrepreneurs are missing that because they don't really understand, how to invite an employee in and go, hey, what do you see in this experience? Oftentimes, entrepreneurs are looking to get stuff off their plate. It's like, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do this, as opposed to, hey, what do you love to do?
Right.
What excites your day? Like, how do you like your day to go? Do you like chaos? Do you prefer calm? Do you like having a variety of tasks to work on in a day, or do you prefer to master one and just be able to run through it like an assembly line? And when you understand the employees and where they're at and how they function best, now both of you are having an awesome experience, because they're like, oh, I get it. I get to ask you questions like this. I get to say, hey, this thing you got me doing, it should be a 15-minute job and it's taken me half an hour already. Is there any way we can deal with this? And that's a huge permissive thing that I certainly did not feel when I was an employee with other people. And that's probably one of the reasons why I make a bad employee, is like, hey, this shit over here, I don't do that.
It's the new maid coming into the house going, I don't do windows, no. Right? Ooh, yeah, exactly.
I don't clean.
That's kind of a problem if that's your business. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No. So in the leadership piece, though, you're absolutely right. A lot of people approach leadership instead of coming at it as a gentleman or lady Dom, they come at it as a domineering prick, which they're that's a different kind of dom, and nobody likes the domineering prick. And yet that's how, unfortunately, too many people approach leadership, and I don't think people want to be that. That's what's really interesting. They just oftentimes think that's how it has to be in order to get things done, you know? And it's just not the case. It really isn't. And to go to the other end of that then, so we've talked about the lady dom, gentleman dom, the power sub, when people typically think of just a submissive in general, it, you know, the power sub,
somebody that's going to be walked all over and just take everything.
Right. And that's really just, that isn't necessarily the case, because again, the submissive, and notice I'm taking off the power part because we'll address that in just a minute, because this is a whole other conversation. But a submissive has provided for the dom the experience that they want, right? They've laid out the entire thing, and they know what the dom knows, what the limits are, how far they can go, you know, where are the boundaries.
The SOPs have been put in place.
Yes. To take it to the business conversation, the SOPs have been put into place. And so then between the two of them now, there's a shared experience that happens, because then the sub goes, okay, I trust that you are going to create this experience for me, that you're not going to push me past those limits, those boundaries that I said were no, absolute hard limits. Some boundaries are softer. They're like, well, maybe I'll explore that. Like, we can try it out and see if it works. And if I, you know, maybe they don't safe word out, because safe word means all things stop, right? That's essentially in the world of business and leadership. An employee goes, fuck you, I'm done. I quit.
And if the boss, if you will, the leader is being the sub, the power sub, then there should be safe words in place. Because 100%. If there's not, then you end up doing things like, what the fuck are you thinking? That's not a good safe word in the corporate world. No. Right? Where if your safe word is something to the effect of, well, that's interesting. Why did you do that? Anytime I hear that's interesting, or my team hears that's interesting, it's like, oh, she does not like that. When something's funky, I'm like, well, that's neat. What's going on there? Totally cool. But if I go, that's interesting, it's like, no, she's not going to like this, and this is going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. No, absolutely. So the submissive, what's really interesting in a dom sub power dynamic, in the end, the sub always has all the power, because even when they've handed it over to the dom, the safe word, the mercy word, that whatever it is that's slow down. Some people it's yellow. Some like people have words that are not quite safe word, but hey, you're pump the brakes a little kind of thing. In the end, the submissive has all the power, and a good dominant knows that. And that's why in leadership, a power sub, right? So here's the power sub is an oxymoron, right? It sounds or feels like it should be an oxymoron, a power submissive. How does that work? But this is someone who does take charge of the experience, but still serving in the process of serving the people that they're working with, right? So the employer, the leader, if they're a power sub, has explained to all of the employees, here's the experience we are working to create. It is your job to do X, Y, and Z as part of this. My hard limits are this. My soft limits are this. As your leader, now go, right? They're employing a little bit of power. They're not as completely, they're not they're not getting walked all over necessarily, because that's not the experience that they as a leader want to have, but they're sharing what they do want to co-create with their employees.
Well, and that power sub position allows the employee or the team person to be creative and spontaneous and in the moment with what they're doing. If you're operating a creative company, they need that. They have to have that creative expression. And if you're hiring experts in their industry, then they need to be able to express their skill set, and they need to be able to bring things to the table that you wouldn't be able to bring.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And as part of that whole piece too, what makes a difference between a complete submissive and a power sub is the level of control that they're exerting on what they want the experience to be, right? So a complete submissive says, here's the experience I want to have. It's up to you as the dominant to decide how we're going to get there. Like, how are you going to get me into subspace? Which, y'all, that's a whole other conversation. Whew, my goodness. You didn't know you were getting
hot thinking about it.
Yeah. Y'all didn't know you were getting this level of education, did ya? So a complete submissive says, I want to get to subspace. It's up to you to get me there. So they're totally giving the creative power to the dominant to decide how they're going to get there. Is it going to be, if sadomasochism is part of it, which tools are they going to use to create the pain, to create the whatever, to get to subspace, right? But for a power sub, what they're saying is no, here's how this is going to go. We are going to get to this outcome, but we're going to get there by doing this and this and this and this. So now we just need to figure out which one of you is doing what. That's the power sub piece. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does.
Okay, good. Well, I'm just making sure, because it's not that I don't think you don't understand. I'm just making sure that what I'm explaining makes sense. Because, some of this, interestingly enough, even though I've been in this world for 5+ years now at the time that we're recording this, having to actually verbally explain it to somebody who hasn't been in that space is a whole different thing than understanding it myself, right? They say if you want to learn something, teach it. There we go. I just learned something about my understanding of submissive and power sub and all of that myself, just in talking about it, which is fun. Thank you. Thank you for that.
It is. And it's awesome. And to me, I'm a complete metaphor queen in that I think if somebody understands one world, that to be able to translate that into another world makes it so much easier because you're creating this frame of reference for them in a different scenario. They already understand the frame of reference. And now you can take it into a new scenario. And all of a sudden, a whole lot more of the pieces fit together. It's like, oh, I get it. That makes sense. Oh, I get it. That makes sense. And then that metaphor can blossom and grow. So if somebody's already in the BDSM world and they're new to business, it can make their journey into understanding how to run a business and how to be a leader that much faster. If somebody's already in the business world and they're trying to understand the BDSM world, they can take it over. And then they bring it back again. Now, all of a sudden, those relationships and those, the sales process, the marketing, the journey that you're bringing your clients on and your team and everybody on onboarding takes on a whole new vision. Because once upon a time, you might have been doing, here's your onboarding, here's your record, here's your binder, go learn all this stuff. This is your job. And when you bring it back into the bedroom and go, would I do something like that to somebody in the bedroom? Okay, so here's the dildo. Here's a sheet. Go put it on and come back to me. It's like, okay, this relationship has already started off wrong. Like, I know what I'm doing, but like, no.
Exactly.
So you can bring it in and go, hey, this is what we've laid out for you. Here's the,
right.
The
smorgasbord of fun.
Exactly. And if you can do that in business, then of course your team's going to be intrigued and they're going to be on like, this is fantastic. Awesome. Right. We get to play.
Exactly. And I think it creates just a much more comfortable experience for everybody because then everybody's on board with the same vision. Everybody's on board with the same understanding of how we're going to get to outcome A in 90 days and get to outcome B in 6 months and get to outcome C, at the end of Q3 and outcome D by the end of the year, right? Because they've either the leader has asked, what do you guys want? How do you want to create it? What's the outcome that you want in your experience with us as a company? Or if they're the power sub leader saying, hey, here's the experience we're going to create. How are we going to get there? And what part do you want? That both of those are incredible ways of leading in business because I cannot think of a time, and I've been unemployed since 2008, right? I've been a contractor, a subcontractor for a few different people, but I honestly, the two people I'm contracted with right now, the two companies I'm contracted with right now as a subcontractor, they've both provided something similar to that to say, hey, what do you want out of this? So one of them being Virginia that I subcontract with. I'm a coach on her team. And she said, okay, what do you want out of this experience? And here's what I need. Here's what I'm looking for. Can you provide that? She's done a little of both. She's a really good little switch. She'll be so happy to hear that. She did a little of both, right? She said, if you were to come on and do this, what would you want it to look like? How do you want it to be? And then here's what I need. Here's what I'm thinking. And then we collaborated and creating that best possible experience for her clients and doing that. And I think as somebody who hasn't been employed, I know that all the previous jobs I had before, nobody ever asked me those kinds of things. What do you want? It was always just, here's what's going to happen. Here's what you're going to do. Go teach middle school science or go do this. There was never a collaboration of what experience we wanted to create to do the best possible thing for the students that I was working with, Yeah.
Well, and to me, when in running a business, and keep in mind, I'm talking about running a business where you hire a team that's kind of full-time there and they support you. When you're starting out in business, hire experts that know what they're doing so that they can ask you the right questions so that you can learn faster. But when you go and hire people as a team, there may be, depending on the business, a time where you're taking on complete and total newbies and you're teaching them to do the job the way you want them to do the job, which requires a whole lot of experience to be able to get to that point. That kind of leader, though, should always start off as a gentle dom and then switch into the power sub role, because new people need to know that you're in control. They need to know that you're a safe place for them to learn. They need to know that when things go wrong, that you are the safe place that they can go to go, fix this isn't right, this isn't right. And eventually you get to the point where you're giving them more and more responsibility so that they know that they're safe to take on that dom role in their position. And then they can do rock stars kind of things.
Yeah. And this also brings up for me the really interesting thing that happens in the world of BDSM all the time, which is a sub finds someone who they go, ooh, you're a dom, you just don't know it yet. And they train up their dom. They teach them how to dom. And it also happens the other way around. There are doms who find people who they're like, ooh, that could be a really great submissive. And they train up their submissive. The way to be in power without being in power, right? And so taking that analogy of what you just talked about and saying, okay, so leaders need to be in one aspect, the gentleman dom, lady dom initially, and then switch to power sub when they feel comfortable. And what I think is interesting is that when somebody can be really good at doing that, they're going to find themselves, depending on who they're working with, which employee they're talking to, they're having to switch roles between switching conversations with employees. So with one employee, they might be in lady dom mode, and the next employee they talk to, they have to switch into power sub mode because they've been around longer, they've trained them up, now they're having what experience can we co-create, right? Because I haven't had to hire anybody yet. I have lots of mistresses. Mine are all subcontractors, vendors that
Everybody
I pay.
needs a good wife. I've always said that.
Yes. I do eventually need a wife for sure in my business. Not opposed to having a wife in real life, but I think the state would have an issue with that.
Start with business, work your way up.
I know, right? Polygamy is not allowed where I live. We'll put it that way.
We're just saying polyamory at this point.
Polyamory, yes. It's totally allowed, although nobody really likes it. Or at least those who aren't in the world don't like it because they're scared of it. But that's a whole other conversation. No, but seriously, that switching between, because most leaders who are in the position to hire team members on are probably not hiring on everybody all at once to take them through that process. They're probably hiring on their first person, get them trained up, get them through the process, help, give them enough business so that the leader can then hire on the next person and build up enough business and go through. So they're probably finding themselves going through that. I can't imagine that there are a ton of leaders, although maybe I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And listener, if you're somebody who's in this position, great, correct me. I'm okay with being wrong. Just don't beat me up over it.
He likes being corrected.
Snap. No, but seriously, I would imagine that most leaders are not hiring on an entire team of 4, 5, 10, 20, 100 people all at once to go through that. It's
Not usually.
I would imagine it's probably more along the lines of one.
I mean,
or two
they
at a
will.
time.
So say you have a franchise and it's just opening up, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're opening up a new
True.
whatever. And then you're going to have a staff of 25 or 100 or whatever, and you're going to take them all through all at once. It can happen that way.
Mhm.
But somebody in that position is still going to be a good leader, is still going to be able to switch. And it comes into the sound and the feeling. So when somebody finds a good dom, usually in my experience, a lot of the high-powered people want to be submissive, but nobody has the power, the audacity, the dominance to create the confidence for that high-powered individual that says, yeah, you can totally control this situation and I feel safe under your control. It takes a pretty unique individual to be able to do that. Those people, though, are very good at being able to hear and understand where the trepidation comes in without looking or sounding, fearful.
Right.
But once you're honed in on that, it's like, you're not quite ready for that role yet. Okay, you come over here. You do. What do you want to do? And then you hear it and you go, yeah, you're totally ready. And it becomes this switch, if you want to put it that way, that can just happen like that.
It will take practice for leaders to be able to do that. But hopefully the listener right now is sitting here trying to figure out where they are with that as they're thinking about their team and how they're looking to create that switch experience to be able to figure out, okay, who am I doming with? Who am I subbing with? Kind of thing.
Well, think of yourself as kind of having like a threesome. Like, when you have a threesome, one might be dom to the dom and one might be sub to the dom, right? And if you're in that middle position, then you're kind of switching, right? You're not necessarily, it's not always two doms to one sub. It could, and then how do the other two react with each other?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, my gosh. We could go on for this.
Right? That's what I'm saying, girl. There are so many analogies in this. It's crazy.
So many. And I know that we also have all those other topics that we can pull up in our future Badassery episodes. And next time we'll get to have Virginia with us to have that conversation. And goodness knows we'll get her to listen to this episode and maybe do a badassery where she answers back and says, okay, wait a minute, here's what I have to say about this. Because, she may have some input and I'm sure she does. So Michelle, thank you for pulling up this idea for topics. I love it.
Love it.
Ah, so much fun. And we will continue.
I got a lot of toys in my drawer.
Oh my gosh. So many places we could go with that. Let me tell you. Oh my gosh. I swear it's so funny. So I'm a part of a few different Facebook groups online and I'm not going to call them out because I don't want anyone feeling unsafe, but some of them they're groups that are all women who want to have conversations around sex positivity and blah, blah, blah. And I swear there was a thread that was, the moment when your kid finds your toy drawer. And some of them had pictures because they're 18-month-old walked out with the pink vibrator.
Right.
And the picture of the picture of the kid crying when mommy took it away. And they're like, I want that. It makes noise and it's fun. I was dying. I mean, laughing to the point I had tears rolling down my face, reading these stories. Some of them were teenagers who found their mom's things. Some of them were babies. And I'm just oh, this is too hilarious. Too hilarious. So now all our listeners are now sitting here going, ooh, I'm going to start that thread in one of my groups.
Right.
Because we all know we have toys. Let's not deny this. If you're listening to the Bad Girls on Business, we know you have toys or your partner has toys. We know
There's
our
toys
audience.
to be had.
Yes. And you are probably much like us and have all the toys.
And if you have a bedroom drawer full of vegetables, we know you're not vegan.
Oh my gosh, you're going to break me with that one. That was good. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Michelle, this has been way too much fun. Way, way too much fun. And Bad Girls listener, we want you to come tell us how much fun you had listening to this. So seek us out. Go to badgirlsonbusiness.com. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. We'd love to hear it. And by the way, did you know that you could rate and review our podcast? Yes, yes, you can. If you are listening on Apple, then you have a really simple, easy way to rate and review us. Go right into the Apple Podcast app, click on Bad Girls on Business, and scroll to the part where you can rate and review our podcast. Let us know how we're doing. And specifically, feel free to refer to today's episode of Badassery. And we'd love to know what you're thinking. If you're on Android and you are not on Apple Podcast, obviously, then you can rate and review us through Spotify or Audible. So make sure you go check us out, rate us there as well. We would love to know what you think about us. Now, we may not do anything about it if you don't like us. If you don't like us, we're just going to go, fuck you, stop listening. There's literally 2 million other podcasts you can listen to. Why are you bitching at us about it? Quit listening. But whatever, there's that. So,
although I know people that don't like me, but damn, they're intrigued. You can stay. If that describes you, I'm okay with it.
Exactly. If you're going to keep listening, just don't tell us how much you hate us, right? Like, that's fine. Bitch and moan about how awful we are, but keep listening. Okay, give us downloads. I'm down. That's fine.
I always said it's not a good day until one of my clients calls me a bitch.
Oh, I've never had any of my clients do that for me. So that's probably a good thing, though, that's the way I operate. So
such a bitch. I call them on their shit.
Yes.
They don't like that.
That's very true.
Well, they do, because they keep paying me. So clearly all my clients are little masochists.
They're masochists, right? Yes, exactly. Which is quite possibly true. It's totally okay. No judgment here.
Right?
As we say online, NMK, not my kink. But that's okay. No judgment. There's no judgment associated with saying not my kink, not my thing. So anyway, back to our wrap up. Check us out on, I know we're trying to wrap this up. This is what we call a Midwestern goodbye. It takes fucking forever. Oh, God.
Goodbye in the kitchen. Goodbye in this porch. Goodbye in the driveway. Goodbye in the,
walking alongside the car, you know.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Before I forget.
Yeah. Make sure you go check us out on badgirlsonbusiness.com. Each one of us has a wonderful gift for you. If you haven't already gone and checked out those gifts, why not? What's wrong with you? Go do it. It'll be really quick. And each of our gifts are going to help you grow and advance your business in the next coming year. So go check those out.
We like things that grow.
We do like growers. Growers are good. Oh, my lands. How do we not have more listeners? What the fuck?
Mute.
Alrighty then. So we're going to wrap this up officially for real this time. So stay tuned because there is another badass episode on its way.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales dom, the referral diva, or your mistress in business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.